Do you crave violence? Have you ever wanted to trade human organs on the open market? Have you ever invested in a company only for it to go belly up because you murdered the CEO in cold blood and now your stocks are completely worthless? Welcome to Cruelty Squad. If you're like me, your first question is probably, what the fuck am I looking at? Believe me, I'm with ya. But I assure you, it's one of the best immersive sims available today. For those of you who have been living under a rock, an immersive sim is a game where the player is thrown into a large, open-ended level and is left to complete their objectives however they see fit. Some games, like Deus Ex, add some spicy RPG elements, which goes a long way in keeping the gameplay varied and interesting. Cruelty Squad doesn't have RPG mechanics. Instead, it's got the Grapendix. A significant portion of your long intestine shoots out of your chest cavity and lets you swing around like you're fucking Spider-Man. But, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Story.
You play as a nameless hitman in a biopunk dystopia. Your job? To body any targets assigned to you by your corporate masters, or else. That's pretty much the gist of it. You're given a mission briefing from whatever the fuck this thing is, and then let loose in vast levels with the singular goal of killing every target you've been designated. How do you go about achieving this goal? Well, that's up to you.
Gameplay.
If you haven't guessed, this game is a total fever dream. The visuals are nauseating, the gameplay is fast and intense, and your options are, how to put it, morally gray. But remember, wet work is a dangerous profession.
I am the danger.
Before each level, you'll want to select your 2 starting weapons, equip or purchase any of the various implants available to you, and maybe browse the stock, organ, and fish markets. Once you're prepped, hit that start button and watch as your screen induces nausea. It's time to hurt people. Cruelty Squad operates like any other first-person shooter, and it's about at this point where you'll probably notice that you melt faster than your screen does. Despite having a high movement speed, Cruelty Squad plays more like a tactical shooter. If you're caught out in the open and take a lethal amount of damage, the neural implant embedded in the base of your skull will detect the fatal amount of blood loss and proceed to paint the walls and anyone around you in a fine, sticky red mist. Failure is not a factory-installed option. You know what they say though, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. If by some miracle you survive long enough for your magazine to run dry, you may notice to your horror that no matter how hard you mash the R key, your weapon won't reload. Well, to reload in Cruelty Squad you press right-click. Then you proceed to drag your mouse downward to expel the spent magazine, and drag it back up to slap a fresh one in.
Shooting a gun is like being intimate with a woman. First, you inspect it to make sure it's clean. Then you grab it on the butt and jam the magazine in. If it doesn't fit, make it.
It sounds weirder than it actually is, because after getting to grips with it, I actually wish more games used this system. It's far more satisfying to pull off in the middle of a firefight than just hitting R ever could be. Soon you'll be dispatching the brain-dead corporate goons and your targets with ease. Speaking of murdering people, there are a lot of ways to do that. There are tons of weapons, implants, and juicy secrets scattered throughout the levels. Any weapon you manage to extract from the level with becomes permanently available for you to bring into missions moving forward. Some are very situational, while others are going to be staples. Very much in the same vein are the implants, but once you have the Grapendix, there is no going back. Or how about the skull gun? A gun implanted directly into your cranium that fires micro-caliber HE rounds. All you have to do is scoop out some of that brain matter to make room, and you're all set. It's probably at this point that you realize you're not the only one missing part of your brain. The AI in this game is complete fucking garbage. Cruelty Squad still manages to be quite challenging though. With how quickly you can be reduced to a pool of viscera, it's probably for the best that every goon you encounter is missing a few chromosomes. If for some bizarre reason, murder's just not doing it for you, how about going for a nice, quaint fishing trip instead? That's right, there's a full-blown fishing minigame built into this thing. There's a reason that fish market exists after all. I have no idea why, but I fucking love it. There's an impressive variety of fish to catch, and if you play your cards right, you might just be able to make a massive profit. To my knowledge, this is the only way to make money that is not soaked in the blood of the innocent. Prefer the morally gray approach? Well, thankfully, there are plenty of organ donors eagerly waiting to give. Every corpse can be consumed for a single point of health. A helpful side effect of cannibalism is the copious amounts of organs that are still left after you finish your meal. Take your prizes and sell them to the highest bidder. After all, healthcare isn't free, so you might as well be the one making all the profits. During my playthrough, I made almost all of my money through the organ trade, and I don't regret a thing. I'm going to buy that goddamn cottage if it's the last thing I ever do.
Sound.
Do yourself a favor. You see that music slider in the options menu? Yeah, go ahead and turn that all the way down. I kid you not when I say this game gave me a migraine, and I think a big part of that is this god-awful soundtrack. It fits the theme of everything being and sounding like shit, but it's just too much for my little brain to handle. Other than that, the soundscape is a nightmare, but it fits the game like a glove. Gun sound effects are pretty beefy for the most part, so I found all the weapons very satisfying to use. And the NPC dialogue reminded me a lot of Animal Crossing, but instead of making friends, I was taking lives.
Conclusion.
Cruelty Squad manages to be a thought-provoking, nightmarish vision of the future, while simultaneously being the ugliest game I've ever played. It might be the best example I can think of where the saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover," is applicable. It's a fantastic immersive sim, despite how hard it tries to convince me otherwise, and I think it's very much worth checking out if your brain and stomach can cope with the audio-visual overload. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I really do appreciate it, and do take care.